In today's video, I have my good friend Jesse Bibby, who is one of the most clever people I know, who tells his story of how he went from 0 deals in February of 2023 to in his first 10 months, how he closed 36 real estate transactions. Not only does Jesse have a successful business, but he has a successful life. He's ridden a motorcycle down the coast of Vietnam, he's run multiple Ironmans, and he literally comes on any crazy adventure that I invite him on. So in this video, we break down everything from how we biked 190 miles in one day and how Jesse subdivides land into multiple parcels. So tune in and enjoy. Dude, what's up, bro? How are
What's
you,
going
Jesse?
on?
What you do? Where are you at right now?
Over in Madeira Beach, we're at
Okay.
one of Kylie's friend's house.
Nice. That's what's up. Dude, you're not traveling across the European continent anymore?
No, no, back. I think we came back like 3 weeks ago. So getting settled in, loving it, getting back into a routine. Traveling was great, but definitely good to get back into that routine. So
Dude, let's talk about it. So, all right, guys. So, for everyone who is watching, Jesse has a land business, works with Collective Genius and growing their entire mastermind, travels the world, runs Ironmans, is running an Ultraman. So, we'll talk about that. It's a man of many talents. So, dude, talk to me a little bit about this, about the Ultraman training and how that's going right now, and even what that is, and like, why would you even want to do that?
yeah, I ask that question pretty much every day at this point. Yeah, but the Ultraman, it is essentially like a 2.5 time Ironman. It's an Ironman, a full Ironman is 140 miles total. So it's like a 2.4 mile swim, 112-mile bike, and then a 24-mile run. An Ultraman is a 6 mile swim, 270-mile bike, and then a 52-mile run. So yeah, a little bit of a jump there. So yeah, I got into it because once I got to the Ironman, I realized there was a million other people doing it, and it wasn't that cool. And I saw Jesse Itzler, who I look up to, do the Ultraman. I'm like, shit, he leveled it up. So signed up for it that next week and just been training for it ever since. So
Dude, how do you train for something like that and travel like 3 months across Europe?
it's difficult. It like ruins a lot of plans, but it's something that when it's a priority, you just kind of make time for. Like when we were picking places to travel, like every single time we'd choose the next place to go, like I'd have to make sure, okay, there's a place to swim, there's a place I can bike, there's a place I can run, and so that kind of eliminated a lot of options. But it's just if it's a priority, you'll make time for it, and yeah, so we made time for it.
Do you like when you're traveling and you're like trying to do like these big runs or big bikes or big swims or whatever? Are you like specifically picking places to go where you're like that will be like a really epic place to train?
Um, We would try to. Realistically, it's tough to like find things that check like all of the boxes, right? Like a good place to work, reliable Wi-Fi, beautiful things to do. Like, so it cut the choices down, but we'd try to find places that'd be good to train. So that's how we chose Canary Islands, even though it didn't end
Hmm.
up being the most beautiful place. It was a great place to train. So a lot of hill training, a lot of great places to swim and things like that. So
Dude, I've heard a song. There's actually a song called Canary Islands that I listen to sometimes. It's kind of like one of those like hippie indie songs, and it's gets the job done, I guess.
love it.
But well, okay, cool. So let's talk about it, dude. So you're on track to do what, like 40 deals this year for land in your first like 12 months, which is pretty freaking awesome. I mean,
Yeah, it's
that's insane.
been
So
been super cool.
yeah, so like let's talk about it, dude. I think your entry into real estate was almost like you're definitely playing chess instead of checkers, and I think is one of the smartest things that anyone could do. So let's talk about it. How'd you get into real estate, and like how'd you get your start in this game?
For sure. So what like initially made the mindset shift was, hate to beat a dead horse, but it's always going to be the rich dad poor dad thing. Read a couple other books, realized real estate was going to be the thing that made generational wealth, made a lot of money, all that kind of stuff, and allowed me to live the lifestyle that I wanted. So, did that, started to kind of learn about real estate and started do it. I did a fix and flip. And then, as most young people, I followed a bunch of people on social media that were crushing it in the real estate space. like the Pinedas of the world, Tim Brotts, like all like kind of like the bigger names. And this is when I'd like just moved to Tampa. So, I followed them. They were all in Tampa at the same time. I was like, what is everyone doing in Tampa? And they were all at a Collective Genius event. So I was like, man, this Collective Genius thing looks kind of cool. Looked into it. I'm like, I've never found a place where people are scaling businesses, but also looking to become like better men, better husbands, fathers, all that kind of stuff. Like typically it's one or the other, or it's gurus and stuff like that. Like I've never found a place where it's operators scaling businesses and being better human beings. And so when I saw kind of what Collective Genius was all about, it intrigued me, obviously. And then I looked at what it took or what the requirements to become a member were. And at the time, I had done one flip. So obvious I wouldn't qualify. But nonetheless, I just wrote in my journal, like, I will help serve the Collective Genius in some form or fashion. And I just found Jason, who's the founder and CEO of Collective Genius, did some homework on him, listed some podcasts he was in, and just sent him a cold email, essentially just letting him know what an awesome organization he created and just tried to provide value in any way I could. Wanted to be a fly on the wall. So if I could help set up for events or pass out like whatever it was, I just wanted to kind of be a part of it. And yeah, after I bugged him a bit, he, he invited me to one of the events. I guess a couple of the members liked me and told Jason, and he was like, hey, why don't you come on board? So that's what I did.
Dude, that's pretty cool. What was that email? What'd that look like?
I forget exactly what it was, but you know, I just told him how awesome Collective Genius was, what kind of it was impressive, like the impact that he's making on the world through Generous Genius, and then through the members' lives, right? The impact on their business, their personal lives, and all that kind of stuff. Just told him I had a lot of respect for it and the impact that he was making, and that, yeah, I just wanted to do anything that I could to provide value and be a resource to come to one of the events. And I guess he liked that. So
What were you doing at the time, like before you were basically like reached out to him?
selling commercial insurance. So kind of a big difference. So
I imagine that's a huge difference.
yeah,
I
very,
know
very
nothing about
corporate.
commercial insurance.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I looked at my title as of risk manager, I think you know me by now, biking across Kansas and
You
all
were
this
the
other
risk,
thing.
bro. You were the
I was
risk manager. That
like,
company's
yeah,
going under for sure.
yeah, yeah. They're like, read these documents. I'm like, yeah, you don't want me. I'm not that guy, but I could sell it.
Dude. That's interesting. Were you actually like managing risk or like
You're selling insurance to like middle market construction companies, roofing companies, and things like that. So um, we would essentially underwrite or we wouldn't do the underwriting, but we would essentially just like take account of everything, and then we'd be like the account managers, and then we'd send everything to underwriting where they would actually, manage the risk and whatnot. So
okay? So okay,
we were
that's
just
good.
sales.
You weren't good. Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
So okay, so when you join Collective Genius, you obviously come on board. Like, what's the impact that makes for your life, and like, how does that what's like the first thing when you walk into the room and you're like, are you like shook? Like, it's like, wow, like these are all guys crushing. Like, what was the feeling
Yeah.
going from just like guys selling insurance to like being in this room full of dudes who are worth like 5-10 million bucks or more?
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of taken aback, right? It's like you have certain like mental limits, right? Like your internal temperature, is like Ed Milet says, and mine was definitely lower when I came
Hmm.
in, and then after kind of being exposed to the room and seeing what was possible, just in general, of like these guys crushing it, doing a ton of business and all that kind of stuff. It's like, man, the sky's the limit with this business. It's more so like, who do you need to become to get to that point? So for me, yeah, I mean, it just completely rewired my mind and what I thought was possible. So
Yeah, and like I think it's kind of cool. I just actually talked to Ray Rodriguez, and he like came in and was like the social media marketing manager for Ryan Pineda from like 2K subscribers, like 200K. Um, and I think it's pretty cool that like you just come in, learn from someone else, and then you like go do it on your own. Obviously, like you're still like working with the Collective Genius and like doing that. You know, as a it's kind of I guess it's like you guys doing that and doing the land business. So like how did you decide like which avenue you want to go? Because the thing with CG is that there's people doing houses, there's people doing apartments, there's people doing land, there's people doing commercial, there's people like not even doing real estate, like there's everything in the under the sun
yeah,
um, in the real estate industry. It's like you knew you wanted to get into starting to do your own business. Like, how did you pick which one to go down, and then like what was that path look like?
Yeah, so this is like a pitfall that I see with some folks if they come into a room that they're too small for, right? Is they see all the shiny objects, right? When I see someone making $100 million in self-storage or doing this or doing that, I'm like, I need to do all of it, right? Because I was undisciplined at the time and I didn't have enough experience to understand like what it takes to do those things. So I did everything, right? I would door knock pre-foreclosures on the weekend. I'd try wholesaling. I'd fix them. Like I would do all the things, right? And I got deals from it, but it never like I was never aligned with like the end goal. And so after doing that for like 8 months and making money from it, but not really building like an actual business or anything, I kind of took a step back and I was like, all right, before I move forward, like what is my actual like desired end state with what I'm doing right now? Right. Like if I was to scale this business, like how could I scale a business that actually makes sense for my lifestyle, for my goals and all that kind of stuff. And for me, like at the time, traveling was super important, right? I wanted to build a business that would allow me to go to Europe for 3 months and still continue to press the ball forward and work and do all those things um, while being able to travel. And so obviously if I'm door knocking pre foreclosures, that might be a little bit tougher, right? You can still
Mm-hmm.
build a house wholesaling or house flipping business while you're international. I mean, you're a perfect case for that, you and Gino and plenty of other guys, but it just wasn't like for me, I felt like there was a better way. So took that into account and I was like, all right, well, if I look at my easiest and best deals that I've ever done, they were all vacant land, right? Because I didn't have to go to it. I didn't have to look at it, right? I just got a good deal on it and I sold it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, I can scale that. Right. And there's a gentleman in our CG Select room, Colin Murphy. He gave a presentation about how he was flipping a bunch of land and he lives in Spain. Right. So he's flipping land in Florida, but he lives in Spain. I'm like, man, that kind of just like sealed the deal. I was like, all right, I need to do this thing. So cut everything else off, just focus on vacant land starting in like early February and
Mm-hmm.
just been solely focused on it. And it's crazy when you actually focus on one thing that you start to get more
You,
traction. So
I think it's kind of interesting. It's like I think this happens to a lot of people. It's like you throw a bunch of stuff against the wall and like kind of see what sticks and like what you like and like what makes sense. I love like hearing how like people like pick the path they're gonna go down because I think it's like super interesting because you actually face that like probably a lot more throughout like business. Even you probably faced it. You face it all the time like when you're making new decisions and like should I hire this person? Should I start this new like strategy, whatever it is, new product, whatever. And you're
yeah,
always faced with like just throwing stuff against the wall. Okay, this is what's worked for us in the past. Let's do more of it, marketing, etc. So it's like
yeah,
I think that's a really helpful thing to like always look at.
for sure. And I think
So
it also
because
goes to like, obviously Paul Sparks and the whole whale club thing over, closer over more, right? Instead of most people opt to just do more and do more and do more when they're not actually getting closer to their end goal, right? Their solvable problem. Whereas like if you just opt for getting closer, making decisions that'll get you closer to that goal instead of just opting
mhm.
for more, you'll live a lot better life and you'll make better decisions and it just creates a better filter for you to do those things. So I felt like that was super helpful as well.
Yeah, what was your actual like? Why did doing houses and like obviously pre foreclosure? I get it. You're going door knocking, but like was it just for the houses versus land thing? Just because like that's like what had worked for you, or was there any other like reasons for that?
Yeah. So I look at it when I was looking at it, I was like, okay, there's 1/10 the amount of land investors than there are wholesalers and flippers and single family folks, right? There's a
Mhm,
fraction of the amount of people. There's 8 times the supply of land across the country, right? So just in terms of like vacant land parcels. Three, it's a lot more unemotional, right? When
mhm,
you're trying to buy someone's home from them, right? There's a lot of emotions that go into that transaction, right? And there's also a lot of logistics, right? The AC, the roof, the kitchen, right? Coming up with rehab costs, like doing all these things. For me, I like simple, I like scalable, because those things obviously go hand in hand. And I felt that the amount of time it takes or the level of complexity with land is significantly decreased, which means when you go to bring on new talent, when you go into new markets, when you're making all these like big decisions for scaling, it just limits the complexity of it, right?
Hmm.
Because when you're just kind of finding out the basics of land, it looks completely different than when you're comping a house, right? It's a lot easier. So for me, like even within the first 12 months, like I've got land in 10 different states right now, right? Like it's a little bit trickier to buy houses in 10 different states that quickly, or even just be able to do that in general. Whereas like the whole United States is my playing field now, and there's a lot of different ways you can kind of pivot and do deals. So yeah, it's just more of like a scalability, simplicity, and just less competition, frankly.
I I think that's kind of one. I think that's kind of crazy that you're just buying like you're like you call me one day like dude just bought this piece of land in Tennessee. I'm like bro, cool. When did you start going to Tennessee? I,
I did.
I don't know. I just kind of decided, dude. And I think it's funny that you have that flexibility. I think like everyone does have the flexibility. It's just like the exit strategy game with houses is like usually a lot more nuanced than it is with land. Like
Yeah.
obviously there's tons of different like creative things, and we'll get into all that kind of stuff with land that you do. Um, but I want to talk about the thing of like where you're really good at systemizing things because people like look, you're Jesse's buying like three like on 3 to 4 properties a month and like closing these deals while having a full time job. So it's like you're doing this on the side, and then like one, what I'll say is like you work extremely hard. Like when you came to my house and like we hung out for like a week or whatever it was, like I'm like like that's what it takes like in order to like have success. Is like if there's no moment where like Jesse's not like working or grinding, well, like during the day. Obviously, like we went and did a bunch of stuff. Like we biked to Kansas and shit. Like it was a little bit of a rowdy weekend, but so it's like 190 miles. Anyways, bringing it back, how did you like? How did your like? How did you structure the business so that you can basically, close 40 deals a year in your first year while working, 20 hours a week?
Yeah. So focus and intention, really. I mean, that's simply focus, intention, and the right systems for it. So like my days, it's gotten more flexible as in the past couple months. But especially when I was like growing it in the beginning, it was train in the morning, right? Train, do five to eight, right? Get to work at 9, work 9 to 6, come home, work from like 6:30 to realistically like 10. Nothing crazy, but just get a couple hours of work in afterwards. So I mean, I think most people spend time working when in reality, if they were to like actually look at the time that they're spending like doing revenue generating activities or things that actually push the needle, it's probably like 1/5 of the day, right? Like
Mhm.
answering
Yeah.
emails, doing like all this like nonsense work. Like most people, if they just shrunk and gave themselves 3 hours to do the work, they'd be able to get as much and as the same kind of results that I'm getting. It's just focusing and putting it into like that period of time. So, yeah, the model that I did was just very intentional. The marketing channels that I used were intentional because, like, I see a lot of people when they're choosing marketing channels, they're like, all right, what'll just give me the cheapest and the most leads? Like for me, it was like, okay, well, what marketing channel is going to fit my lifestyle and my availability, right? And it wasn't going to be
Yeah.
calling and texting, right? I tried the texting thing and I got a million leads that I had to process, and that just wasn't my style. So I chose direct mail, Facebook ads, pay per lead, things like that. Whereas like I'm not getting a ton of leads, I'm just getting a handful of leads each day. I can close a very high percentage of them because it's me on the phones, right? I'm not getting
Hmm.
overwhelmed with a bunch of underqualified leads. Um, and yeah, so just intention with my marketing plan, intention with the marketing channels, and then just like dedicating a specific amount of time each day to do the things. So
Yeah, I think it's like honestly such a like simple answer, but it's the right answer.
yeah,
Like if you think about it, like I don't know how like you manage your day and your task, but for me, like I use my like a notepad, and I find it if I just like have like this huge block, like usually on Thursdays I have one call, so it's like I don't really do much on Thursdays other than like work. I find it really hard when I first like had that structure to like actually be productive because you have like all this time, you're like, oh, dude, I can like do these like three
yeah,
tasks like later today or whatever. But it's like you gotta like make the choice to like do the
right,
things when they need to be done and not just like put them off to later. Cause if I said, "Hey, I got 2 hours to do all like these three things," then I would just do them in those 2 hours. Um,
For sure.
and like one of the things I actually learned, I think it was who was the guy that came in was a keynote about like time management, like
I forget his
th-
name. I know who you're
6 months
talking
ago.
about, but I
Anyways,
forget his name. The guy with teeth
yeah,
with
so
the
he was like yeah, yeah,
laser
that guy.
teeth.
Yeah. Dude, funny story actually. So I won the belt at CG, so I had to have a dinner, like or like the dinner with the guy who was the keynote and like with a couple of other guys who won the belt. And no, I was 23 at the time. I believe I was 23 at the time, and everyone else at the table is like 35 to 55. And I'm sitting right next to the keynote, literally right next to the guy. We're eating steak and like some other things. Dude, someone asked him a question, the keynote, and he is eating a piece of steak. Mid conversation, he's like, didn't reply. He goes and like he's like, sorry for not replying fast. I had a piece of meat in my mouth. And then I look at one of my friends. His name is Jimmy Breland.
Oh
We
no.
make eye contact,
Oh
and
no.
he just started laughing so hard because I was like, Jimmy, don't do it. And he
If you
started. He
look at
can.
Jimmy, he's gonna
He
crack it.
just.
He's gonna crack up.
Oh man, it was so funny, man. But
That's
anyways,
awesome.
so long story short, what I learned from that guy who had meat in his mouth. Anyways, but back to the actual like point is I learned from him is like you should like give yourself like a block and say like I'm gonna reward myself with something like free to do after if you have like those long time blocks. I've been doing that and it's like honestly like really helpful.
Really?
I don't know. Yeah, it's super helpful because I get
Just
like
an
a little, I go
example.
walk my dog or something. He's a
Okay.
little like brain space. Like every 2 hours I do it pretty much.
Nice.
So,
Nice. Yeah, I feel
but
like
anyways,
it's good to kind of like take a step back and be able to kind of decompress and move from the next task with more intention.
yeah. But anyways, I think you just have to be disciplined. Like, okay, so what would you say? Like, because I think there's also like, yes, you have to be intentional. Yes, you have to be intentional about the tasks you're doing, and because you have like less time, but you also have to build some systems to like really like make it a little bit more streamlined for you. Like, how did you like kind of go about that? Like, what were the things like you knew you had to do, and then like how did you like make sure your time was only spent doing those things?
Yeah. So for land, I mean the two things that you need to do, or I guess three things you need to do is market research, send mail, talk to people, right? Talk to people and make
Mhm.
offers. And that's literally it. So in the beginning, like I couldn't talk to people because I didn't have any leads. So it was all about market research, finding good markets to buy land in, and sending out as much mail as possible. So that's literally all I did, right? Like nothing else matters. Your business, like your name doesn't matter, your logo doesn't matter, your web, like literally nothing matters until you have people telling you they want to give you their land for 50 cents on the dollar. Like until you have a shit ton of people telling you they want to sell you their land for 50 cents on the dollar, like you have no other problems. So I want to be the least problem. And so, yeah, just let me find as many good markets as I can. Let me send out as much mail as I reasonably can. So that's pretty much it.
and and then like once you get the leads in and you're actually talking to people, it's just
Yeah.
more so about maintaining the front end and everything else pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. It's just send out a bunch of mail, talk to people, follow up with people. Like it's nothing sexy. It's just literally the basics. But most people like they'll do the market research, they'll send out the mail, and then they won't actually talk to sellers, right? They'll miss their calls, they won't call people back, they won't follow up, right? If someone doesn't want to sell to them on the first call, and like I don't know, if you just do the basics and stay disciplined with it and treat it like an actual business, and you have a greater purpose of why you're doing it, then you'll get the results. It's very simple.
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple. Like that's what Brent Daniels talks about all the time. Is like just talk to people who own homes and like ask them if they want to sell it. And if they
Yeah,
do, you should give them an offer. And if you do that enough times, eventually someone will say yes.
yeah. This isn't going to be the
You'll earn the right
best
for
clickbait.
someone to
It's
say
not going
yes.
to be the best clickbait, but it's literally simple. It's send out as much marketing as you can to generate leads, and then talk to as many people as you can and make offers. Like
Yeah. If you were
it.
to clickbait it, how would you do it?
If I was to clickbait it, it would be how to do 5 or 6 deals a month while traveling the world and working part time.
I think people would
that's
click on that.
that's a clickbait title.
Who do you think would click on that?
Um, Me before her, I would have clicked on
Yeah.
that. Right? How to do real estate deals while living across the world, working on the business at least, working on the business like 3, 4 hours a day and making significantly more money than most people is pretty solid.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's pretty dope. So, okay. I think you subscribe to Jesse Itzler to a pretty heavy degree. I listen to like all of his podcasts. What kind of things do you take away from a person like Jesse Itzler?
Creating just a full and rich life, to be honest. Like, his like big ass calendar that he has. Like, my
Hmm.
girlfriend and I, every year, at least for the past couple of years, like we've recreated his big ass calendar, and like we have a bunch of huge sticky notes that we've put. Like, if you look in my room, this isn't my room, but like if you were to look in my room, one of my entire walls is like a calendar, right? And so every year we'll like go out right before the new year. We'll go somewhere in the woods and just like stay out in the woods for a couple days and just like plan out the year, right? Just like Jesse Itzer does. He has like all like his big blocks. He wants to build his life, or he wants to build his work and stuff like that around his life, right? Make sure that, because time passes quickly, and if you aren't intentional, you're not going to be able to have all the experiences that you want, right? So if I know that I like to do races, right? I know that I like to travel and have experiences. I know I like to spend time with friends, like those types of things. So like, why not just like plan that out in the beginning of the year and set aside time for that? So that's kind of what we do in the beginning of the year. And I got that from Jesse Itzler. And then just like the Kevin's rule, right? I feel like our bike to Kansas was like a Kevin's rule type of thing, where I forget like what the actual definition of it is, but it's pretty much like every quarter you just go and do something completely random that is completely out of your routine, right?
Yeah.
So something crazy like that.
I mean, I think it's great. Dude, bro, Jesse Itzler's story is amazing. I honestly like that guy's so inspiring, bro.
Yeah.
The fact
He's super
that
cool.
he's so dope. And his bro, the have you listened? You've heard his story of like how he like sold the first person like the Marquis Jets like fractional card.
Was that like when he was passing out coffee, or like he bought all the donuts or muffins at that place and he was selling them back to
Yeah,
people or something?
yeah, dude. He
Yeah,
literally, dude couldn't get into a TED talk. This is like before the internet. He's like, I know there's rich people there, and he went and he knew all the people went to the Starbucks or to the coffee shop and bought muffins. So he went and bought all the muffins and then sold some dude like $100,000 card while he's
that's
there,
awesome. Yeah, he would like he
bro.
bought all the muffins and then he would give them out and just ask to have a conversation or something like that. But
Yeah,
something
it's something
solid.
like super basic.
Yeah,
Dude, imagine this guy like trying to sell you like a $100,000 card. He's got like a little headband, like he looks like he's homeless, bro.
little afro. Yeah,
Dude, like he's got like a snap. He kind of talks like this, like real quiet. Dude, super cool, dude. I would love to meet that guy.
yeah. Kyle and I, we
Okay,
went
would you
out.
ever let David Coggins live with you?
I mean, yeah, why not? That'd be a fun experience. I'm down, dude. Literally, I mean, I think we know each other pretty well by now. But any like crazy ass experience, like I'm down for any of it, right? Any of it.
Me too,
Yeah,
dude. My next one is like biking Vietnam or motorbiking Vietnam. What's
dude.
yours is the Ultraman.
Yeah,
What's the next like big one after that you have?
I haven't thought of it honestly. Like when it comes to, well, Callie and I were talking about it, and I was considering the cost of it is probably what's deterring me right now. But I was going to try to break the world record for doing an Ironman on every continent. So, well, not every continent except for Antarctica,
Alaska,
but
bro. Yeah,
yeah.
Antarctica, Alaska. It's definitely not a continent.
Yeah, no. So I was gonna try to break the world. So six Ironmans, 6 continents in 6 weeks, or maybe in like 7 weeks, because I don't want to have the 666. Um, but yeah, break the world record for that. But that was gonna be on the
Dude,
agenda
what's that
for
like 30
'25.
grand probably to do?
Be expensive. I don't know.
Yeah.
We priced it out a little bit, but yeah, it was just super expensive. And the logistics of it, like I don't know if you need to have like an actual official Ironman race in those continents, or if you can just like go and do like an iron distance triathlon and have that count. So yeah, we got to work out the logistics, but that was like the only thing that I can kind of think of that I was potentially planning on doing.
Yeah, dude, I think that would be cool. You know what I was thinking about? Something that I would really love to do, like as like a passion project, would be like to run events. You know how like we do like these crazy like quarterly type things. Not necessarily. It's like I wish I was more intentional about the Kevin's rule.
Yeah,
But I do think I like if I look back, I would definitely accomplish something like that every quarter. Is when we do some kind of run, some kind of adventure that's basically matches that. Is like what if we just like somehow got like a bunch of people to come do it? That'd be kind of
dude,
cool. Maybe like
that
run an
is
event
like
around it.
that's I think we may have talked spoken about this in the past, but dude, I want to do that. So if anyone's listening to this and they like doing crazy shit or they like doing ultras or adventure or anything like that, like I think that'd be super fun to get a bunch of real estate people that are down for ultras and crazy adventures and do some fun stuff and have it be like a mini mastermind.
Dude, okay. So just to give you context on like what kind of adventure we're talking about, is I called Jesse like 10 days before. Me and my friend were planning to bike from Denver, Colorado to Kansas. And then Jesse's like, yeah, dude, I guess I'll just buy a ticket. Text me 5 minutes later. All right, I'm coming out on Thursday. And then then we biked 190 miles. So like that's the spawn. That's the type of adventure. It's just kind of dumb, but I think that that could be really entertaining. One of the things I was thinking about would be a bike across America. That I know that's like kind of like mainstream, but could be kind of entertaining.
Yeah,
Um,
that could be sick. I wanted to do the Pan American Trail. We spoke about this before,
mm,
but do from
yeah,
Alaska to Argentina on a bike.
dude. Yeah,
Or I
let's
wanted to
just
do
like
it on
block off 2 years on the calendar, dude. We 99 days, dude. 99 days on a dirt bike, right, or a mountain bike.
no, on a road bike. I think the world record is right around there for the on a bicycle, but I think I would want to do it on a motorcycle. After I saw the guy that just broke that world record just finished a world record where he did the Transamerica twice. So he went from like California to New York on bike, and then he went back on foot, and he just finished. Like he like
Oh, come
biked
on,
across the
dude.
country and then ran back. Yeah.
Oh my god,
So I was like,
dude.
man,
That's
that
like,
guy might have the upper hand on me when it comes to this one.
dude.
He's
That's like okay. That's a different level of fitness, dude. I mountain biked like I think I mountain biked like 30 miles one day, and I was like, bro, like I cannot imagine doing more than like 50 miles in one day and then like taking a day off. Also, dude, going through Colombia and like, okay, so like from the Panama to Colombia, I don't know if anyone's like researched this, but dude, in Colombia, the gorillas will like eat your lunch, dude. So like there's literally territories in Colombia that are like safe places and then like gorilla run. And the president of Colombia is an ex gorilla. So like I'm sure there's a little bias in here. Um, but basically like you really like can't like actually make it like safely bike through Colombia. Like I think like I've read a lot of stories and articles of people like getting like their bike stolen and like beaten up
oh
and
shit.
like kind of like some not so good stuff.
Yeah,
So
I
maybe like
definitely
skip
don't want that
Colombia.
to happen.
Yeah,
I've heard a
dude.
lot of
I don't
people
know.
also doing it though.
Really? That's true.
Yeah, I've heard tons of people do it. I'm in this like Facebook
Dude,
group, Pan American. It's like the Pan American Trail for like everyone that's doing the Pan American Trail and stuff like that.
uh
And I see people like all the time in there, just like biking or motorcycles or vans, stuff like that. So
dude, maybe we need to brush up on some more Spanish. I mean, my 273 words probably isn't going to cut it for the gorillas. But they actually probably don't speak Spanish. They probably speak like in the indigenous language, whatever that is.
I'm not sure. Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
don't speak a lick of Spanish,
No,
so
no hablas español,
no hablas español.
dude. Yeah, you're you're right. I don't speak Spanish. So,
Yeah,
dude, let's talk about where the land business is at right now and like some of the cool things you're doing.
sure.
Um, because I think land is like a very unique like asset class. Like it's very interesting because you can be very creative with it. Like I mean, just go into some of the like the general like high level things you can even do with land and like why it's so flexible and so lucrative.
Yeah, so I mean, you can do a million different things. What I've been doing is kind of like the three pronged approach right now. So just generally like flipping it, right? So just buying it and simply reselling it. Um, a lot of them recently, specifically. So a great way to sell land is just on seller financing. So like if for me, like the note building a note portfolio is pretty intriguing. So like, for example, there's a piece of property. I just closed on another note, but the first one I ever did was I bought 11 acres in northern Florida for $55,000. I sold it within 30 days for $105,000, but I got 52,500 as a down payment from that buyer, and then he's making a payment of $950 a month for the next, I think, 6 years. So like you're pretty much getting most of your money back up front, and then you're getting that $950 per month for the next 6 years. And what's great about it is, you know, I set it up with a loan servicing company. Like they collect the payments, they deposit into my account every month, right? It's land, right? So I don't need to do any like improvements and things like that. I don't have to worry about tenants or, the whole tenants toilets or whatever they say about it, right? It's just simply like
All those
I get a
things.
check every month, right? You want to vet the buyers up front, make sure, they're actually buying this for a reason, right? And this isn't like some shitty property, a desert square out in Arizona that these people don't actually have any plans to do anything with. Like this is a high value property. He's going to build a home on it. He's going to live there, right? He's going to actually put this thing to use, and he put 50% down. So I'm not worried about him making those payments every month. And if he doesn't, then I have the ability just to do it again. Um, so yeah, it's just great. You get to leverage building that portfolio, because then you can get loans against it. You can do so many different things. Or if you need the liquidity, you can just sell the notes off to a third party note buyer, and then they can get the payments on a monthly basis. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's one approach, and then the other approach is
On
just
on that real quick before you go into the third one,
sure.
what is some of the things you're doing like to vet that buyer besides like making sure that they have a real like use for it? Like, are you doing like a whole like type of deal if you're like a lender? Or are you basically doing that kind of no?
No, I mean, for better or worse, I'm not. Right? My vetting is what are they going to actually use this property for? Like, are they going to
Mhm.
be like, is it just something that they're holding on to, or do they have plans? Like, I want someone to be like using that property for something specific. I want someone to be in love with the property, right? And actually really like the property and tell me about that. And then if they put down a big down payment and they have the ability to do that, then that's my vetting.
I mean, your risk is pretty much zero because in that deal, like, you got like a few grand left in it. So it's like worst case scenario, you like foreclose, take the land back over.
Yeah,
How does it work if they built a house and then stop paying your payments? Do you know?
I probably should.
That shit gets
I'm
probably
still,
like complicated.
yeah. Honestly, I've got no idea. It's in the paperwork somewhere. I know that the attorney that drafted it up put that language in there. I'm just honestly have no clue what it is. So that's probably not
Yeah,
the
I
answer
mean,
people.
just in time information type of deal, you know?
Yeah.
You'll have to just figure that out because don't let that stop you from doing it. But okay, go to the third one.
Yeah, so the third approach is some subdivisions. So not like these big subdivisions. I'll eventually get into that kind of stuff, but that takes too much time for me right now. And like realistically, I'm not in a position to be able to wait 18 months to get paid and put 20, 30K into those types of deals. So yeah, just some like minor lot splits and things like that. So for example, like there's just it's just a great way to add value to properties. A lot of times you can get that property for market value or close to market value and have it still make sense. So it gives you the ability to pick up more deals. So for example, I've got this deal in, I think, South Carolina, bought it for 20K. It's 6 acres, but what struck my eye right away was, so there's two roads right here, right? Road right here and road right here. And then the 6 acres just goes right in between it, right? And so it has road access on both sides. So right when I saw it, I immediately was like, all right, that's a subdivide. So looked in the county, looked at the zoning, looked what the requirements were for the zoning, and then I was just like, all right, I can easily cut this thing up. Called the county, had them look it over, make sure that it looked okay. They gave me the green light. I just had to get the survey and submit it. Um, but yeah, so I bought it for 20K, and then I'm cutting it in half, selling the 3 acres on the right for 40,000 cash, just to recoup my money, or I should say my investor's money, pay him back plus interest, and then have a little bit of money to go back into more marketing and things like that. And then I'll seller finance the other two for about 30K a pop. So I'll collect like $2,000 to $5,000 down, and then $400 a month for each. Then I'll just have that going for the next 5 years, and obviously have the ability to sell those notes in the future if I need that money. But
Dude, that's
so
pretty sweet.
so yeah, it's cool.
That's pretty sick. So what even what I mean, now I've been informed by you, but like what is a minor lot split?
So Man, I'm definitely no expert, but the minor lot split is like, so in most counties, like there's a requirement to where like if it's below, if you're taking one plot and turning it into like no less than two or three or four, whatever the county requires, you don't have to like go through this whole process with the county or yeah, honestly, I forget what it's called, but there's two types of subdivides. Like the one where it's just like a normal one where you have to like go through this whole long process, takes like 8 to 12 to 18 months, or you can simply just submit a survey, go through the county, they approve it, and then that's it. So I'm doing the minor ones where you don't have to like take a long time and do all this stuff. Like what's required for this one is literally just me get a survey, submit it with the county, they'll plat it or replat it, and then I submit that. I submit those two documents, and then I'm all set.
Dude, that's sick. So is that like rural areas or is it like in like kind of like populated places too?
Mostly rural. Like everything that I have is rural. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. Because like they're like, it's not like a city thing. Because that's probably why it's like, in cities it's a little bit more time intensive because they want people to like petition, like, should we be able to like have two
sure.
houses on this piece of property and like all that kind of stuff. But that makes sense because it's like super out in the boonies. Dude, okay,
Exactly.
so another thing too, like on this, because I think like the dispo, as you like start to understand like the exit strategies for land, it probably like really plays into like your marketing strategy. Like, so how do you like leverage like these minor lot splits, the way that you make money into like your market research and to like in your marketing?
Yeah. So honestly, most of the most of those types of rural deals have just come through like my Facebook ads that I run. Um, so that's like I haven't been targeting those; they've just come through the lead flow that I've generated through like Facebook ads and stuff like that. Most of like my flipping is like very targeted market research, finding balanced markets, right? Finding areas with homogeneous pricing, and then going after those. And then all of like
Hmm.
these other marketing channels where I'm not as targeted with the types of land and things like that, where it's just kind of coming in from different areas. That's really where I've done like that 11-acre deal that I told you about. Facebook ad, subdivide, Facebook ad. The Yeah, most of my rural deals have come from Facebook. The Tennessee deal that just went under contract, that's from a Facebook ad. So those have been my best deals, but they also take a lot longer to sell and things like that. So
Yeah, and you gotta like it's also like probably you have to deep dive on the due diligence a lot more because it's like not a cookie cutter type deal.
for
So
sure,
okay, you said two things: balance and homogenous for like picking a market, and like with the structured mailers. We'll talk about the
sure.
Facebook thing in a second. But like, what does balanced market mean, and like, what does a homogenous market mean? Like when you're actually like looking for a place where you're gonna actively send like mail, cold call, SMS, whatever.
Yeah, so for me, like I'm just looking, I will go pretty much all across the country, right? But if I can find little subdivisions, right? If I see in this subdivision, if you look on, just pull up Zillow, look at what's sold in the past 12 months, look how many sold, right? If there's 100 that have sold in the past 12 months and there's 20 up for sale right now, safe to say that if you bring inventory to the market, it'll probably go pretty quickly if you price it well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like if there's 100 that sold in the past 12 months and then there's 300 up for sale, like there's 3 years of inventory on the market right now. Like unless I get that
Yeah,
thing for free, I'm not trying to tie up my capital and have it just sit on the market forever. So I like
that
to
makes
find
sense.
balanced market. Like if there's 100 that have sold in the past 12 months, I want to see that there's less than 100 up for sale. And even at that, like I like to see it a little bit more. So it all depends on what you can get the deal at. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of like the balanced market. And then the homogenous pricing, like when I'm sending out mail, I was sending out blind offers before, which is simply like sending them a purchase agreement in the mail with a price that they just sign and send back. So when I was sending out these blind offers, I wanted to make sure that I was pricing it correctly. So I would look for that homogenous pricing to where in that subdivision, if there's, there all of these 1 acre lots or 10,000 square foot lots are selling between 65 and 75 or $80,000. Like that's relatively balanced, right? Safe
Mm-hmm.
to say that if I get something at 30,000, that's a deal. So,
Yeah.
right, I'd pull out all the data from that subdivision, send a mail at 50 cents on the dollar or less than 50 cents on the dollar, and then start fielding calls. And, sometimes we'll actually just get the signed letters that come back to the virtual mailbox, just sign purchase agreements. Sometimes, I price it wrong and they sign a purchase agreement that's overpriced, but just going back and renegotiating. So
That makes sense. So you're sending like literally a letter with the PAS in there.
yeah,
That's
2 page
pretty
letter.
cool. Okay, that makes sense.
I
So it's
was
like
not anymore, but
not doing this anymore. Are you only doing digital?
no, I'm still sending out mail. I'm just more so I've because like my thing, most land people, they're only sending out blind offers for the most part. And that's gonna like those are like they call it like the soldiers, right? That are just like killing everyone that's not a motivated seller. And for me, like, I don't really need someone that's super motivated. I just need someone that'll give me a deal. So I want to like speak to every single person. So if I'm very targeted with my locations, I want to talk to every single person that I can in those very targeted locations, right? If I'm sending out like county-wide campaigns, okay, I probably want to be
Yeah.
more targeted with the types of mail that I'm sending out and the pricing and things like that. But if it's in this like hyper targeted subdivision that I know exactly what it's worth and I know exactly what I can dispo it for, like I want to talk
Yeah.
to every person that I can.
Yeah, it's like the quality of once the quality of your list is like really dialed in, you just want to speak with everyone. So it's like that's what we did with houses. Like we knew like 2 to 4 bedroom houses were like 98% of our revenue, and like three, 2.5s were like really, really lucrative for whatever reason. I mean, it makes sense, like because the extra half bath on the main floor. So
Yeah,
3, 2.5s are like really, really good for us from an ROI perspective. So it's like every single 3, 2.5, like I don't care like anything, like give them an offer. It's like just
yeah,
like let's get those people across the table because you got to put your your hat in the ring to even try to get a deal. So
for
that does
sure.
make sense. What kind of results have you seen from just doing like because you're just doing letters probably more so like are you interested in selling type of deal? What letters are you doing and like what's the result been like from the shift?
Yeah, so more so on like the neutral letter side. Um and the results have just been more conversations. There's obviously more that come through that aren't super motivated and things like that, but honestly it's just more conversations. And those, I mean, I don't track my data as well as I should. So I don't have exact numbers, which is bad. And obviously, especially being a part of CG, like I should have my numbers dialed in. I don't. I haven't made the time for it yet, just because I've kind of just been focusing on anything that can generate revenue. But in terms of like amount of calls, amount of deals, and amount of conversations, like it's more from the neutral
Mhm.
letters than the blind offers. So
That's kind of what I figured. A lot of people are doing like neutral letters with houses too, and I'm like, I was talking to a buddy. I was like, dude, you're like targeting the perfect buy box. I was like, just get as many leads as you can, bro. Like, who cares? Like, you and plus like if you do the MLS strategy, like I don't know if you're like you're like listing some of the land on the MLS, like wholesaling it for basically selling it on the MLS for them. Um, so it's like if you have that ability, you can be pretty close to market value and it still work. So they don't really
yeah,
need a lot of motivation.
yeah, I've done that a couple times. I know
Hmm.
it's a big thing for it's becoming more popular, at least in land space. I don't do it a ton just because like I like simplicity. And
Hmm.
when I tell someone that I can buy their house and I can solve their problem, like I have utmost confidence that I'm the one closing, so I actually will be able to solve that problem. Whereas like so like 9 times out of 10, at least most people that I talk to, like they need that money for something, so I'm going to close on it. But there's been instances where they're like, "Look, I'm not in a rush to sell. I just need to get my price. I'll just sit on it if not." And that's when I'll go the double close approach. But for the most part, it's just like buying it, taking it down, and listing it on the market. So
Yeah. So like yeah, why are people selling land? Because like, I know you say it's like much more of like much less of an emotional conversation, and it's more like logical or just like there's just no like real emotional attachment to it. It's like what do people want to like? What's the pain you can dive into? Like what's the gap you build? Like what's the sales conversation really look like?
yeah, so for most of like the reasoning, it's like they've been holding on to it for 20 plus years with the intention, right? Like everyone's like, yeah, I bought this land in Florida 20 years ago with the intention of building and moving my family, and plans just changed. Right, I'm getting old
Hmm.
now. I need to use this money for X, Y, Z, um, and like I don't really want to pay the taxes on it anymore. So that, or they inherited it, or it's going to go to the tax sale, or they need this money for medical reasons. That's kind of a big one that happens a lot. Um, divorce, just like standard type of house conversations as well, right? Just like the kind of the main
Mhm.
points of motivation, less of foreclosure. That happens sometimes.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's just like they've been holding on to it forever and they've something has happened in their life that makes them want to take that money and do something with it and hit them at the right time
Yeah. It's a lot, still just timing. They're just like,
for
I
sure.
just need to liquidate this, and I don't want to let it sit on the market for a year because I've done that before, kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So I try to push people away as much as possible. Like, cause like genuinely, like I'm going to try at least to do what's best for them. So if I know that they've got all the time in the world, right? Like I'm going to push them. I'm just be like, look, you're going to get more money if you put this on the market, right? You're going to get
Mhm.
more money than me or any other investor is going to pay you if you just put this thing on the market with a real estate. It might take you, right? If you're trying to get that price, it might take you about 6 to 8 months to do so, right? And kind of showing the numbers of stuff that's sitting on the market for a long time. But so you can get more money if you put it on the market, but just might take you a lot longer. So if you have all the time in the world, I encourage you to probably list it with a real estate agent. But if you're looking for something a little bit quicker and more certain, then we can help with that. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
loosely part of the
Yeah. Yeah.
conversation.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Is that like the approach that most land people take?
Um, I'm not sure to be honest. Right now, like I think a lot. I mean, I would assume a lot of people have that approach. The other approach I've heard is, and why I think there's more of an opportunity in land is like people are like, yeah, I just let them call my cell phone, right, and then I just don't answer the phone, right. The strategy is to not answer the phone, wait for them to leave a voicemail, and then call them back if they sound interested. I've heard that more times. Like I've heard that in training courses. I've heard that at conferences. Like the amount of times I've heard don't answer the phone and let it go to voicemail, like it blows my freaking mind. Right? I'm like there's this one guy at the conference, he was like, yeah, like I just hate talking to sellers. Like I refuse to talk to sellers. Like I'll email them, I'll text them, but if they don't take my first offer, like I'm marking them cold and they're going in my CRM and like I'm never touching that lead again. I'm only focusing with people that'll close a deal, my price. I'm gonna make it once, and that's it. I literally heard them say that on stage. My mouth was hanging open. I said, "What? What are
This
you
dude's
talking
on
about?"
stage, probably
Yeah,
makes like pretty decent money.
yeah. I guess. I mean, in 2021, 22, like it doesn't take much to make that money, right?
Oh, that's wild. You land boys are like in the ancient ice age, dog.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
if you can run a streamlined business, you'll have a good competitive advantage. So, but just the
Wow, that's
basics,
wild.
like
I cannot
talk to sellers.
imagine someone calling me off a mailer where I send them a price where I'm like, I lock it up at that price. They call me and I don't answer it.
Yeah,
Bro, that's a different world.
dude,
That's
you would be
crazy.
shocked. Like I've heard that more times than I can count on my hands. Yeah, it's crazy.
Dude, that's incredible.
Yeah,
Yo, I think that makes sense. Like, you know, granted, it's still competitive and you still gotta have a good marketing strategy, et cetera, et cetera. Like, it's not that easy. Like, I'm sure those dudes have some skill sets that like help them
of course.
out. Maybe they're really good at marketing or marketing analysis. I don't know. But like, it kind of makes sense. Like,
Yeah,
because you're hustling 10 times harder than these people, and it's like, once you put a business around that, it's like you'll have like, you'll do 100 deals a
oh
year
yeah,
pretty easily.
100%, man. Yeah, I think there's a yeah. If you got a big vision for it, I think there's the room to run is it's there, right?
What's
It
your
is.
vision for it?
So my immediate vision is just to get to 10 flips a month consistently, predictably with a very small team, probably 2 to 3 people on the team, just 10 flips and then 4 bigger subdivides a quarter. So not like these little minor lot splits, but like full on like subdivides taking 20 acres and chopping it up into 50 lots, like these
Hmm.
entitlement deals. So I'd love to be able to get to the point where I'm doing 10 flips consistently a month and then have those entitlement deals for the bigger paydays going on each year. So that's like the immediate goal. And I don't think it'll take that long to get there because right now it's like pretty consistently at like three to six purchases per month. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I don't think it'll take too long. It's just
I mean, yeah,
adding
you're
enough
pretty much
more.
like almost there.
Yeah.
How is so Facebook and Google ads? well, I think your Google Ads account's banned based on last time we talked, but which Google is awesome. So I heart Google, but Facebook, how is that going for like land? Like it's because it's an like a lot of people don't like it for houses, but I think for land it kind of seems to be kind of an interesting model because of these minor lot splits.
Yeah, I mean, it's hit or miss with the leads, right? I'm getting leads right now at like $38 a pop. So it's pretty inexpensive leads. A lot of them are junky. I'm still like working out my process. I've gotten deals from it. It's been great. I'm still working on the process and trying to refine it, make it better. A lot of
Mhm.
wholesalers, a lot of real estate agents will submit the forms and things like that. So um, a lot of junk, but through the junk, you just got to sift through and find the good ones, and then train Facebook to give you more of the ones that you want, right? So like before, I just had one form and everyone could fill out the form, right? And it would send
Mhm.
anytime I'd get a lead, it'd send that feedback back to Facebook's Pixel and say, "Hey, find more of these people," right? So I would in the beginning I would get a ton of wholesalers and agents that would start submitting the leads to the platform, and then pick the Pixel would get that, right, and say, "Oh, you like it when these people fill out the form? Let me go find all of the agents and all of the wholesalers and give you more of those." Right? So I had to kind of
Yep.
create a form that disqualifies and things like that. I'll still get the lead from it, but unless someone says that they're the owner in the form, if they put their motivation points and things like that and it makes sense, that's when it'll send it back to Facebook to the Pixel and find more of those people. So
Yeah.
still working through like the
Yeah.
nuts and bolts of everything, but it's getting
Yeah.
better.
Facebook's really good at getting you that result. Like their algorithm's insanely good at finding the people who like actually will like go through the funnel. So that's like it's like half the battle is like getting the right people optimized. Dude,
For
something you
sure.
can do with Facebook because you're not in the housing category is have you run any like lookalike audiences or done anything like that
I
on
haven't
your
yet.
best that you should test that.
Run a
That'll
lookalike
help you get a
audience.
better ad set. Yeah.
So 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 right now I'm sending like all of my direct mail pieces also go to that same web page, which is bad. I know I should separate it and create different landing pages for testing and stuff like that. But so
Yeah,
if they
but it's
submit
all
the
good.
lead through that, will that also go to the Facebook pixel if
Um
they don't go through
it
Facebook?
depends on like probably not because the pixel comes from like them clicking in the ad and it attaches to the URL and then it will go to the
Mm,
landing page. So more than likely it won't, but it might. I'm not 100% confident on the pixel. But what I do know is that you can take a file of all like the records that you want more of. So let's just say like let's say you've done, you need three. I think it's 100 records that you need to make a lookalike audience. So you could maybe take 100 of like really good leads that you have in your CRM. The more you can get, the better. But basically, like here's like the perfect profile, whether it's seller. So what we did is we did calls, so like appointments, qualified calls, whatever. And we took that list and we made a lookalike audience off of it, and that's our best performing audience from like a quality
really
perspective. Yep.
interesting.
So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
super
and the way
interesting.
here's another thing that I learned just the other day is Facebook pushes the so you have an ad set, right? And it's like the audience that you're targeting. So when you have an audience, it's like a big pool, but they break the audience into like multiple different pools. Usually it's like five based on like what I was told. So when you launch one campaign, it might flop because it gets sent to a pool that's not actually good. So he basically said you want to launch a campaign with five different ad sets, even if it's the exact same thing. So make one, then duplicate it four times, so you have five total. And then now, if it's good, two or three of the ad sets will be a winner, and then you can just
Interesting.
cut the other ones.
Same exact everything.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Interesting.
Same exact everything. And then
Huh.
now, granted, if it's working for you, then it's working. But that's what he said that he does with all of his ads, and it
Yeah.
works really well.
Yeah. I try to do random little tests here and there and try to find things that work better. And but honestly, like the main one that I've done has just outperformed everything from day one. So
Yeah,
um,
that's good.
yeah, I want to get it dialed because I think I love the inbound leads, man. Or they hit different, right? They're so much easier to
They do,
close. Like
man.
it, yeah. They've made. I mean, the net on them is always so much higher. Um, yeah, the inbound leads are where it's at for sure.
This is cool. Is there anything like you want to talk about? You got any topics you want to hit on?
Um, if anyone needs help with land, feel free to hit me up. Like if any, because a lot of like what I've found is most wholesalers and flippers and stuff like that, they come across a ton of vacant land. They just don't know how to price it. They don't know how to dispo it. Like they don't really know anything when it comes to land. So if anyone needs help, like I don't need to JV on. I'm happy to JV on the deal, but I'd be more than happy to
Well, send
just
your leads to Jesse Bibby and JVM with them.
yeah, so if most people also need funding and things like that, so I've got some good access to capital and stuff like that. So if people want to JV on deals or just need help underwriting a deal or getting the model down, I'd be more than happy to help anyone that needs that. Or if anyone's looking to scale up, if anyone's doing like 2 to 3 deals a month, or minimum of 10, but really like 30 to 100 deals a year or beyond. I encourage you to check out the Collective Genius. It's been made a monumental change in my mindset and the way that I've operated and how I've been able to kind of scale up very quickly in a short period of time. It's just being surrounded by a bunch of savages that are on that same path, sharing the strategies and the tactics and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, if I can help you with land, would love to. If I can get you an intro to Collective Genius to join the community and scale up, would be more than happy to do both of those things. So
For sure. Yeah, Collective Genius has been instrumental in our success. So I would highly encourage anyone to at least go and take a look at it. So,
for
but
sure.
Jesse, dude, this was fun. I can't wait to plan our next adventure and
Yes, sir.
start Airbnbing it up
That's
in
right.
April,
I'm pumped, man. It's gonna
dude.
be fun. You're doing great things, and hell yeah. See you soon.
Sweet, dude. All right, bro. Sounds good.
All right, man.